You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, a fatal crash in Oklahoma claims the life of a man.
Heavy rain already resulting in four-state flooding and quite possibly lightning causing a house fire in southwest Missouri. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, artists and art lovers gather in Texas for an art show that's back after 2 years. All that and more coming up.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Bronte Sorotsky. An early Sunday evening crash takes the life of a motorcycle driver in Oklahoma. Last night at approximately 6 p.m., a motorcycle driven by James Morrison from Broken Arrow lost control, rounding a curve on US 412 and left the road. Morrison came off the vehicle and struck a speed limit sign. He was pronounced dead at the scene by Cherokee Nation EMS. According to Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Morrison's condition was normal and that unsafe speed on a curve caused the crash. A local nonprofit charity is ordered to pay more than $8 million in a bribery and embezzlement case. Preferred Family Healthcare serves patients in the four-state area. Missouri attorneys say elected officials in Arkansas accepted bribes from employees and executives of Preferred Family Healthcare. In exchange, politicians would provide favorable legislative and official action for the charity. That included directing funds. Several people have pled guilty in the case, while others await trial in October. Prosecutors say the nonprofit's board, through lack of proper oversight, is also responsible. You can learn more on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. A local bank showed their support for our area first responders. Pinnacle Bank in Joplin hosted the First Responders Grill Out fundraiser. People were able to come out and get a meal with a hamburger or hot dog for $5, with the money going to the Fraternal Order of Police to benefit the families of the JPD officers who were killed and injured during shootings last month.
The employees decided that, hey, we want to do something to help the police officers the unforgettable tragedy that happened a few weeks ago. And employees rallied around, put this thing together. We support it. Pinnacle Bank supports it, and decided, hey, we want to give back as much as we can.
First responders were able to eat free of charge at the event. Well, if you're looking to get into gardening, the Joplin Empire Market has you covered. Eric Osen, a master gardener with the University of Missouri Extension Office, is teaching a series of beginning gardening classes. Each class will cover different aspects of gardening. Throughout the series, Osen will give expert advice to anyone to learn how to grow their own food.
There's always concerns about food security and being able to, feed your family, and this is a healthy outdoor family activity. This is something that you could do with your kids, your grandkids, to spend time with them.
The classes will take place at the Webb City Farmers Market, Joplin Empire Market, and Joplin Public Library. For more details on the classes, you can head over to our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. A global plastic shortage is putting a strain on local greenhouses and nurseries in search of containers during the start of gardening season. At the Ozark Nursery in Joplin, customers are encouraged to bring in their plastic pots to be recycled for a 5-cent credit on future purchases. While the business has done this for decades, this year it's filling a crucial need. Out of the 15,000 plastic pots Ozark Nursery ordered, only about 2% come in. When it comes to ordering plastic right now, only the early bird has a chance of getting the worm.
We have to order, 6 to 8 months in advance in order to get our product. And now, even though we do that, these days it's still coming up short.
Ozark Nursery can accept only its own containers. That means they won't take plastic pots from other suppliers. Bondslaves of Joplin hosted an event to pray over local bikers. Bikers stood next to their bikes for prayer and then received a blessing sticker. They got together at McClellan Park for fellowship and music by Second Generation.
It's fellowship. It shows that we care. We're there if they need us for prayer. We're there if they need us anytime. They can reach out for us for anything, from family prayer to motorcycle accidents to anything they need.
This is Bondslave's first time hosting this event in Joplin. On Sunday, the SCCA hosted an event for car enthusiasts. 75 cars raced to see if they had what it took to win first place in their heat. They raced around cones and were timed to how fast they made it through the course.
It's a great form of competition that lets drivers push their cars to the limits in a safe and controlled environment.
Anyone with a valid driver's license can compete at these races. A nice spring day near Los Angeles means it's snack time for a bear and some driveway sunshine. This bear was seen in La Canada, Flint Ridge, munching down on what appears to be a pumpkin right at a home's front door. As temperatures get warmer across the country, more wild bears are waking up from hibernation. Environmental experts say the best way to prevent bears from getting near to your home is to purchase bear-proof trash cans and not leave trash, groceries, or pet food in your cars.
This is the one thing that I missed out on because I'm not smart enough to invent anything. Like I know that, I've come to terms with that. If only I would invent a bear-proof trash can. Maybe I can bear-proof something else. I don't know.
You know, because they said LA, I don't think I've ever had this problem growing up. Like, I don't think my mom was ever like, hey, make sure you put the trash away so we don't attract bears.
Good point.
You know, it was maybe like raccoons, but I don't know if this is a growing issue there. I know that there's been lots of bears in California, though, recently.
Yeah, a lot of the bear stories we have come out of California.
Yeah.
The one thing that concerns me, and a bear's digestive system, I understand, is completely different from mine. But when you told me it was eating a pumpkin, the first thing that I went to is did somebody leave that out from Halloween?
That's what I thought too, because where else do you get a pumpkin right now?
I don't know. I'm very worried about Ron behind the camera is doing the mental math, how many months it's been. Six months.
Oh, is that bear gonna be okay?
Like I said, the bear's digestive system coming out of hibernation is probably just like nom, 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 nom.
Probably not really paying attention to what it's eating, just I'm hungry.
Right, sustenance, it'll work. I'll deal with the ramifications of my choices later.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's why you want to bear-proof your backyard right there.
Yep.
All right, live look over 7th and Range Line. Ominous skies. We're starting to see just a little bit lighter activity, but obviously a rain-soaked intersection right there because we've already got low-lying areas that are flooded throughout portions of southwest Missouri and southeast Kansas. As we transition to the actual radar, give you an idea of where we're seeing the heaviest rain, especially right along the Arkansas-Missouri state line. This thing is going to track to the east of our highlighted counties. Right now we're picking up in Ottawa County, in the Miami area as well, and now we're beginning to bubble. That'd be just north of Pittsburgh, say right there in Frontenac. That's going to be about Highway 160 that's headed off toward Lamar, and a multitude of lightning strikes. Let's concentrate on this north-south band that's really affecting our highlighted counties, because earlier this morning, National Weather Service did have a report, and that's a look at some video from this morning. First responders on the scene. This is on Highway 96 east of Carthage, Missouri. You see the smoke billowing up from the house right there. Preliminary reports indicating that this house fire was indeed started by a lightning strike earlier this morning around the 5 o'clock hour. We do not have any reports of the extent of the damage, nor hopefully we don't have any injury reports, but as those filter in, we will bring that to you. But look at the number of first responders that were out there early this morning. And once again, I realize there's no way to avoid the light. You know, with the flooding, we can be like, okay, low-lying road, I'll avoid that area, I'll find an alternative route. But that is also an indicator of why we say, too, we have the lightning tracker. So if you have one of those situations where you're outside, that's strongly encouraging you to seek shelter and get inside ASAP. We did have a flash flood warning for Cherokee and Jasper. If your phone and your alerts woke you up to that, those have been allowed to expire, despite the fact that we got close to 4 inches of rain north of the Joplin Airport. We do have flood advisories here, a number of counties involved with that, including Jasper, Dallas, Dade, Cedar. You just about name anything moving off to the east right there. And that's part of a flood advisory until 9:15 this morning. Temperatures 50s right now, 60s later on, but the rain persisting all the way into the afternoon hours. Bronte coming up here in just a little bit. Let's talk about how we're a long way from over. After today, we're going to reload Tuesday night and go into Wednesday morning.
All right, thanks, Michael. Up next, a new study brings to light how too many streaming services can cause stress. And later, the funeral for a boy who died on an amusement park ride was held in Missouri over the weekend. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Racism is a serious public health threat. That's what the CDC director said exactly 1 year ago. In a new report detailing the way COVID-19 has impacted the Black community makes it clear the crisis isn't over. Britt Conway has a look at that report.
New COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths are on the decline across the country. But experts say the crisis isn't over. A new report from the Black Coalition Against COVID-19 details the disproportionate impact the virus has had on Black Americans, something we've watched play out since the early stages of the pandemic. April 2020.
The chronic burden of medical ills is likely to make people of color, especially, less resilient to the ravages of COVID-19.
July 2020.
The populations who are most at risk, that's our Latino and African American communities.
March 2021.
Life-saving vaccines that need to be equitably distributed across our country.
And by April 2021, the head of the CDC said the pandemic illuminated inequities of another epidemic, racism. And this new report shows COVID-19 is still disproportionately affecting Black communities. Among its findings, the report says Black Americans recently experienced the highest rate of hospitalization for any racial or ethnic group. And the risk of dying from the virus is nearly twice as high compared to white people, taking a toll on Black families. Between April 2020 and June 2021, 1 in 310 Black children lost a parent or caregiver, compared to 1 in 738 white children. For experts and advocates alike, it's a call to action to address problems that existed long before the pandemic. For Health Minute, I'm Britt Conway.
Chilling in front of your TV might make you more stressed. New research finds viewers are overwhelmed with all of the streaming choices out there. A study by Nielsen says people are swamped with all their programming options. The researchers found that 46% of subscribers are stressed out by all of the titles they have available to watch, as more than 800,000 original programs are accessible on all streaming platforms for viewers to pick. Researchers also say the number of people who purchased 4 or more streaming service more than doubled over the past 3 years. A rare antelope calf makes her debut at the Oregon Zoo. Tutula, the latest addition to the Oregon Zoo family, is seen frolicking around her encampment for the first time Thursday. The rare antelope, with an even rarer birth date, was born on Tuesday, February 2nd, the inspiration behind her name. After spending the first few months under the care of zookeepers and her mother, Tutula, now 50 pounds, is ready to greet zoo guests in her new home. Tutula is a Bontebok antelope, an endangered species often considered the rarest antelope in the world.
That is amazing. At what, 2-3 months old, watching it take leaps and bounds like that,
Yeah.
that is absolutely astounding to me.
I know. Look at her go, too. She's
What
so much
distinctive
energy.
coloration on it as well, seeing as how it will probably, I would think it would probably end up looking like Mama right there with a darker coat, but
Right.
such a cool sight to what, I mean, and look, as the father of 2 proud kids, and you know, watching them walk and toddle and fall, and I'm looking at this thing going, how do you do that? That's amazing.
that really.
All right, Bronte, as we take a live look over 7th and Range Line, we got a ways before we are done with our rain. 53 degrees is where we stand. Temperatures haven't been a problem. It's been pretty mild in the low to mid 50s, but we still do have some pockets of some very heavy rain. Luckily, this one coming out of Fayetteville toward Branson is going to skirt our highlighted counties. That is also where we're seeing the majority of the lightning strikes. If you're just joining us, we did have the National Weather Service coming out with a report on Highway 96 earlier this morning, east of Carthage. Preliminary reports indicating the smoke that you see coming off of that house right there started by a lightning strike. Once again, I realize there's no way to avoid the lightning strikes, but that's why we throw it up there to give you an idea that if you're outdoors, it is time to get in shelter. As more details of that house fire emerge, we will bring them for you right here on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Flood advisory has been lifted right now. Every time we go to this, which I mean is a good thing. We're lifting flash flood warnings. We've let those expire. We've lifted our flood advisory. But even with that being said, we still had record-breaking rain at Joplin Regional Airport. So no, low-lying areas, they're pretty much already underwater. Temperatures for today in the 60s, but I want to be a man of my word and say what we're going to get for tomorrow night. Watch how we clear out here and then warm up into the 80s on Tuesday. The problem with that is the instability that it puts in our upper atmosphere. And once those thunderstorms pop Tuesday night, more heavy wind, heavy rain, high winds, lightning, and then scattered rainfall all throughout Wednesday as well. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. Well, luckily they had some nice weather down to the south, and that's where thousands of people filled downtown Fort Worth. Had a pair of art festivals, weekend festivals, a welcome sight for so many of us. I mean, let's face it, we're coming off of 2.5 years where we couldn't find an in-person cultural event. Luckily, Alexis Wainwright takes us to the story.
This event brings in tens of thousands of people right here to Fort Worth, and after a 2-year hiatus, artists and art lovers can't hide their excitement.
Oh my gosh, it's so awesome. Like, we're enjoying it.
Monica McGill is one of the many people who flocked to Main Street in downtown Fort Worth for the 35th annual Main Street Arts Festival.
It's like you're enclosed for so long, so just trying to enjoy getting out with my kids.
She's excited to get out, but also to look at the different artwork around.
I'm loving it. We picked up a few things. One of the persons is this guy. So he's actually pencil drawing.
The man she's referring to is local artist Jeremiah Andrew Jaja, who's showcasing his work at the festival.
The style of art I create now is called hyperrealism, which is creating with a very keen attention to details and creating emotions from your drawings.
He says it means the world to have something like this because it gives artists a platform for their work to be seen.
This show brings thousands of people your way, and for someone like me, I was blessed and honored to win like the best in the show. So it also brought more people my way, and it does very well in terms of revenue.
And even though it's been 2 years since the last show, the pandemic has given him more time to get creative.
People are just so happy to come back out there, and many artists, the pandemic was the creating process, so we have a lot to show, and I was one of them. So it's very reconciling, I would say, with people coming to see your art and see, especially for me, I created many works inspired through the pandemic.
Now, in all seriousness, I was just talking to everybody in the studio. Talk about a place that if you blink, like flash floods are going to be on you, Fort Worth, Texas. And we've got our own flooding concerns right here in the 4 states. Now, while our flash flood warnings and advisories have been lifted, let's also take into account that we're already seeing about 2 to 4 inches of rain in the central portion of the 4 states. Let's anticipate those places that usually flood, just say they're underwater right now and plan on that alternate route. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's 4-state hero, Sergeant E5 Bobby Clements from Humboldt, Kansas. This Army veteran served in Vietnam from 1965 to 1968 with the 26th Marine Gulf Company. Sergeant Clements won numerous awards, including the Purple Heart with 1 star, Vietnam Service Medal with 1 star, and the Good Conduct Medal. We thank you, Sergeant Bobby Clements, today's 4-state hero. Well, funeral services were held Saturday in St. Louis for a 14-year-old teenager killed at an Orlando theme park. Tyree Sampson fell to his death from the free fall ride at Icon Park in Orlando, Florida last month. While the investigation into his cause of death continues, it was time for his friends and family to lay him to rest Saturday. Ryan Henson was there.
I know that it's tough. I know that it's rough and it's
Hundreds attended the homegoing services for 14-year-old Tyree Sampson.
There's a lot of love here. There's a lot of support. It's terrible. It's a tragedy. It's something that no mother should ever have to go through.
A big boy at 6'4", 325 pounds, on the path for greatness on the football field. Reggie Rice says he'll always carry his younger cousin in his heart.
He stayed asking me no matter what, every time we play football, what you want to do when you get older, or like who you want to be like when you get older. I'm like, I don't know who you want to be like. He said, nobody. I'm going to be myself.
Bigger than his physique, his larger-than-life personality.
I would always tease him about the size of his shoe, and he would joke it off and laugh it off. And I was like, what size, what size is your shoe? And he'd be like, a 17, stayed real proud.
One of Tyree's former teachers made 70-plus buttons just like this one to remember the larger-than-life team. Vita Weekly says Tyree was growing into a great young man and a leader. He helped younger students at City Garden Montessori School. She hopes his loss helps others heal and grow.
And I pray that somebody in this situation learns from this.
Family lawyer, prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump has called Sampson's death completely preventable. Sampson's death was captured on video, which Crump calls the worst he's ever seen, with the exception of the torture death of George Floyd. The ride, billed as the tallest freestanding drop tower on Earth, is still shut down as investigators continue to try to figure out exactly what happened. Well, another half hour of news and weather just ahead, coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. A bear breaks out of a sticky situation that it got itself into. You don't want to miss this. And the homeless population is hard to track, and no matter the age of anyone, it can affect anyone. However, the number of those older and on the streets is increasing. We'll have more on why that is. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:30. Let's take a look at today's top stories. A new law in Kansas is aimed at speeding up the process of testing sexual assault kits. On Friday, Governor Laura Kelly signed the law requiring kits be tested within 30 days of collection. It also increases the time the Kansas Bureau of Investigation would keep all unreported sexual assault kits from 5 years to 20 years. Law enforcement can also now collect evidence from child victims at child advocacy centers, where they may be more comfortable. A local nonprofit charity is ordered to pay more than $8 million in a bribery and embezzlement case. Preferred Family Healthcare serves patients in the 4-state area. Missouri attorneys say elected officials in Arkansas accepted bribes from employees and executives of Preferred Family Healthcare in exchange. Politicians would provide favorable legislative and official action for the charity. That included directing funds. Several people have pleaded guilty in the case, while others await trial in October. Prosecutors say the nonprofit's board, though through lack of proper oversight, is also responsible. You can learn more on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Pitt State has a new university president. The Kansas Board of Regents met in Pittsburgh and voted Dr. Daniel Shipp as the school's 10th president. Dr. Shipp is currently serving as the Vice Chancellor for Strategic Initiatives at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. Board members say Shipp has a proven track record of developing and implementing successful enrollment initiatives. Shipp says coming to PSU was an easy choice.
The high academic standards of Pittsburgh, I think it stands out to you when you read the news feed of all the things that students are doing and faculty that are doing here. I mean, it really blows you away. So it wasn't a tough sell at all. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, how quick could we get there?
Current Pitt State President Dr. Steve Scott will officially retire in June. Well, a global plastic shortage is putting a strain on local greenhouses and nurseries in search of containers during the start of gardening season. At the Ozark Nursery in Joplin, customers are encouraged to bring in their plastic pots to be recycled for a 5-cent credit on future purchases. While the business has done this for decades, this year it's filling a crucial need. Out of the 15,000 plastic pots Ozark Nursery ordered, only about 2% have come in. When it comes to ordering plastic right now, only the early bird has a chance of getting the worm.
We have to order, 6 to 8 months in advance in order to get our product. And now, even though we do that, these days it's still coming up short.
Ozark Nursery can accept only its own containers. That means they won't take plastic pots from other suppliers. A new athletic complex at Lebec Community College in Parsons is nearing completion. The final piece of the Pathways to the Future campaign was to expand and create a true athletic complex on campus. The original gym was built in the 1980s and was not big enough to accommodate all the programs and athletics Lebec offered. The gym has been renovated and work is progressing on an addition to house a number of programs for the campus.
You know, our coaches have done an amazing job in the past of recruiting students, but they come to campus and they're like, wow, my high school was nicer than this. And you know, that's not what you want to hear. We're a college and we do amazing things and are creating future leaders in the community and beyond. And we want to have the facilities to have a first-class experience for those students, just like they deserve.
Forbes says they're looking forward to a building dedication this fall for the new athletic complex. A local bank showed their support for our area first responders. Pinnacle Bank in Joplin hosted the First Responders Grill Out fundraiser. People were able to come out and get a meal with a hamburger or hot dog for $5, with the money going to the Fraternal Order of Police to benefit the families of the JPD officers who were killed and injured during shootings last month.
The employees decided that, hey, we want to do something to help the police officers that, the unforgettable tragedy that happened a few weeks ago. And employees rallied around, put this thing together. We support it. Pinnacle Bank supports it and decided, hey, we want to give back as much as we can.
First responders were able to eat free of charge at the event. A Picasso painting expected to fetch about $60 million is about to hit the auction block. It's called Femme Nue Couchée, which translates into naked woman reclining. Whoa. The woman depicted is Marie-Thérèse Walter. She was Pablo Picasso's mistress, and he painted images inspired by her frequently. This abstract painting of her imagines Picasso's lover as a sea creature with long limbs and a woman's face. This particular work was held in Picasso's estate for decades before an anonymous seller bought it from his descendants in 2006. There's no telling how much it could actually sell for next month. Another painting of Marie-Thérèse, expected to go for $55 million, ended up going for more than $103 million last year.
A little bit out of my price range. CAD.
This is one of those times where I kind of wish I had read ahead before. I
Well,
kind
you're
of saw
fine.
the
You
I
did a
saw the
great job
picture
with
and
it.
was like, I didn't know where we were going with it at first.
I'm not going to go down the Marie-Therese line with Picasso. That was his own personal business.
Mhm.
Stayed with her till he found another mistress. So I guess she had that certain je ne sais quoi.
I could feel that. I could feel you coming to say that. All right. Can we go to weather?
I am done with famous artists and their mistresses, folks. Hey, this is Hayslip just getting out of the way. Still got some heavy rain coming down. This is all going to skirt to the east of our highlighted counties, but now, while we have certainly less intense rain, we still do have a fair amount of lightning that's developing through northeast Oklahoma, and now right along the Joplin I-44 line down to Neosho in portions of Newton County. And the reason that I point out the lightning strikes, here's a fortunate thing. Our watches and our warnings, we had flood advisories, we had flash flood warnings. Those have all been allowed to expire. But as we retreat the camera here and we talk about these lightning strikes, look at all that just picked up down there in northwest Arkansas. Earlier this morning on Highway 96, just on the east side of Carthage. These are first responders out there in National Weather Service indicating that this house fire was started by a lightning strike just before the 5 o'clock hour. And the number of first responders to Lindale Farms, thank you for that. Our own Shannon Becker out there. As a matter of fact, there's flames coming off of the top right there where we see the firefighters up on the ladder. And as we get more information about this and this filters in, and we've been talking about, there's no way to escape lightning. We can talk about floods and take alternative routes. When it comes down to the lightning, we are at the mercy of Mother Nature, but also, too, at least a little protection when you come as far as a building over your head. That's why we encourage everybody when we talk about the lightning tracker, you need to get inside now. Okay, so let's go 60s today. We're not going to taper off till the afternoon. Warm tomorrow, but look at this. We've got additional thunderstorm activity, especially for our north and western quadrant, that is going to give us thunder, lightning, and the entire 9, and the rain will last into Wednesday. Cooler temperatures after that, including overnight lows ducking into the 30s and 40s. Be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. This morning on the KOAM News Now Instapoll, gun control, as police in Cedar Rapids, Iowa over the weekend were actually at a nightclub while shots rang out. They were responding to another call. They were already there. The shooting left 10 people injured and killed 2. Our question for you this morning: do you think new laws should be made for gun control? And right now we're just about evenly split. The no's do have it with 53% of the vote, 47% of you saying yes. Appreciate everybody's engagement each and every morning. It's as simple enough as going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Video of a bear, I guess went on a bear kick this morning. It comes out of Asheville, North Carolina. There's a woman who owns an SUV. She was there watching it and rolling on the entire thing. Samiyar Nefsvi brings us the story.
In the 500 block of Old Hall Creek Road, you'll find Seth McGowan and his friends playing basketball. Without a question, a far less chaotic scene than in the early hours of Thursday when his mother, Ashley, woke up to let the family dogs out for a potty break.
They started barking ferociously as if there was something out in the yard, and when I looked out into the driveway...
This was the scene taking place inside her vehicle just feet away from her house.
I know, it's horrible. It's horrible for the bear. I captured a few moments after the mom punched through my front windshield.
Yeah, that's a mama bear making her way out through the front windshield of the car.
I didn't know that a bear could do that much to a car. It's just surprising because that doesn't happen every day.
Ashley says she's not entirely sure how the bear got into her car, but during the unauthorized visit, the car was destroyed. From the panels to parts of the dashboard, and oh yes, the car seats, all mangled.
I see foam, wires, a bag of Ritz, and broken stuff.
They're in our yard frequently, but they stay to themselves.
While the bear scoured for a way out for roughly 6 hours, Ashley says she worried for the mama and the 2 cubs sitting off in the distance.
I am a little annoyed with the bears, but it was very distressing for me to see the bear, the mama bear, in distress and suffering inside my car.
As for Seth, it was an early morning that gave him a twist on an excuse for missing his homework.
The bear sadly peed on the book I was reading at school and ate my homework.
No need to worry. His mama bear says he completed his homework. Do you think you'll carpool with the bear next time?
Nah.
Ashley says at the end of the day, she's happy the bear got away, seemingly unharmed.
It seemed like she was happy to be reunited with her cubs, and they just wandered off.
So the logical question during the course of the story, as I'm watching this, I just blurt out, how in the world did this happen? It turns out right now it's unclear how the bear locked itself in the vehicle. I thought it was simply perched on top. I did not realize till halfway through it had gotten in and done all that damage. Now McGowan believes it somehow opened the door and then maybe the wind forced it shut. Needless to say, the insurance company says it's a total loss. We could tell that with our own eyes. I didn't need an insurance agent to tell me that. Coming up next in consumer news, why driverless trucks haven't taken off, but they might after seeing that last story.
Even though self-driving trucks are gaining momentum, they aren't taking over the roadways just yet. Chris Demio has more on why the commercial usage of autonomous vehicles are hitting some roadblocks, and when we may ultimately see more of them on the highways.
The nation continues experiencing a record shortage of roughly 80,000 truck drivers, something autonomous vehicle companies hoped would spark demand for their driverless technology. But the process of getting self-driving trucks to go mainstream is proving to be a long and winding road.
Autonomous driving started.
While autonomous vehicle startups like Too Simple, Aurora, Waymo, and others say their driverless technology has already undergone extensive testing, it's still being perfected. Adding many delivery companies that could benefit from their services aren't jumping at the opportunity to ink permanent contracts with them just yet. Currently keeping self-driving trucks from being used on a widespread commercial basis.
Who do you partner with? And that comes down to technology. Who has the best technology and who has the clearest path to commercialization.
Heads at logistics company DHL's supply chain note the abundance of competitors and are closely monitoring which company can help them get the most bang for their buck. But ultimately, they believe self-driving trucks will give them a competitive edge in the future.
We could run a truck continuously from one major city to another and reduce transit times, move product faster.
Even though the relationship between driverless truck companies and their potential clients are rolling out slowly, researchers at marketing company PitchBook Data project the worldwide driverless truck industry's market value will go from $530 million in 2023 to close to $167 billion by 2035. Chris DeMeo, Fox News.
But just because market analysts predict driverless trucks will increase in popularity, they aren't expected to replace actual truck drivers. Industry officials hope self-driving vehicles will be used for more routine, long-distance routes on open highways, which can prove tiresome for people, while highlighting how human drivers will still be needed for shorter, more complex deliveries involving a lot of twists and turns that autonomous trucks could have trouble navigating. We'll be right back with more after this, but first, let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
According to HUD's recent annual homeless assessment, more than 300,000 people experience what the report calls sheltered. That would be temporary homelessness on a single night back in 2021. And while homelessness can be difficult to document accurately, advocates say it's a public health crisis. Sal Giangrasso takes a look at how the number of aging Americans living on the streets is increasing and the reasons behind it.
The number of people over the age of 50 experiencing homelessness is on the rise. According to data from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the number of homeless people 50 and above has gone from roughly 23% back in 2007 to close to 34% in 2017. But the Associated Press reports that's where the updated numbers end, citing how federal officials now consider older homeless Americans as any adult over the age of 25.
I'm not crazy. I'm not living in a pile of needles. I need an apartment that I can afford that will rent to me.
And while mental health disorders and drug addiction can lead to homelessness, advocates say many older adults living on the streets are more so the result of financial hardships, including job loss, divorce, and medical bills coupled with the surging housing market.
I want us to do better. People should not live on the streets.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is coming under fire for ordering the cleanup of hundreds of homeless camps across the Big Apple. Critics call the breakdowns insensitive and cite a lack of solutions for those uprooted. Adams has promised temporary and then permanent housing, but many homeless people say the shelter systems are overcrowded and unsafe.
I was in a family shelter when I was 17 years old, man. You guys destroy people's lives.
Researchers at Penn say the number of aging homeless people only expected to worsen, revealing the results of a 2019 study projecting the number of homeless adults 65 and older tripling by the year 2030. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Ukrainian troops are preparing for what could be a decisive showdown with Russia. New satellite images show a massive 8-mile-long Russian convoy headed through Ukraine to the Donbas region. Russia reportedly is placing a veteran general who led the devastating campaign in Syria as the central commander of its war on Ukraine. The United Nations says more than 4.5 million Ukrainians have fled the country since Russia's invasion. New York City Mayor Eric Adams says he is isolating after testing positive for COVID-19. New York, Philadelphia, and other parts of the Northeast are seeing a spike in cases driven mostly by the new BA2 subvariant. And the world's top-ranked golfer, Scottie Scheffler, won the green jacket with a 3-stroke victory at the Masters tournament in Augusta, Georgia. It was Scheffler's first major championship win.
One final look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker, Bronte, with our heaviest rain now in Ottawa County, just to the south of Miami, and we're getting pockets of the yellow pop up along I-44. Remember, Joplin Regional Airport already setting a record overnight for April 10, and the rain continues to come down. We'll be approaching 4 inches in about a 36-hour span. Raining until the afternoon. As this pushes out, tomorrow is going to be warm, abnormally warm, all the way up into the 80s. That added instability, that's going to cause some thunderstorms popping Tuesday night and then scattered rainfall throughout Wednesday as well. The beginning of a wet week. Do not be surprised if we do not have the reemergence of some of those flood warnings. Bronte, I know Mama Sorotsky watches you long distance, worries about you. Remember, folks, we all know those areas that are going to flood. I would say anticipate them already being underwater. You're doing a great job. I'm going to tell your mom that.
Thank you. All right, well, for the first time in the show's 33-year history, a deaf actor will be featured on The Simpsons. Focus of the episode is on Lisa Simpson, who discovers her role model, late saxophonist Bleeding Gums Murray, has a son who's deaf and needs a cochlear implant. Deaf actor John Autry II plays the role of Monk Murphy in the episode, calling it life-changing. The show's characters use American Sign Language throughout the groundbreaking episode. Even though Simpson's characters only have 4 fingers, the show consulted with sign language specialists to make sure visuals conveyed words correctly.
It's amazing how that show that popular for that long and keeps on reinventing itself and bringing things into the public consciousness.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. We will be back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.